team who, no matter the circumstance, will get everything I have. Graz, what's the latest on Carr's NFL future?
So they have a deadline of 3 days after the Super Bowl, February 15th. If he's still on their roster at that point, then his full $32.9 million salary for this year and another $7.5 for next year become fully guaranteed. Oh. So they got to move him by then. Now, they're talking about trading him, and I guess that's possible, but keep this in mind. No trade can be official until March 15th. So you do a deal with the team for Derek Carr on February 15th, and then they get a better offer 2 weeks later. They could back out. You're stuck paying him $40.4 million over the next 2 years. So you don't want that. Also, he has a no-trade clause. Now I ask you, Max, if you're Derek Carr and the Raiders come to you and say, hey, we'd like to trade you, as opposed to just keeping you on the roster and having to guarantee them, or cutting you and making you a free agent, would you help them or would you not? Would you not say to the Raiders, no, go ahead and cut me. I'd like to pick my own team and sign as a free agent somewhere. I don't understand how they're going to be able to trade him unless he's willing to do them that favor, and I don't understand why he would be.
And if you do them that favor, whatever team you go to is necessarily weakened by the resources
Correct.
they had to trade.
And for no good reason. You could just sign with that team once the Raiders cut you, which they're going to have to if you don't let them trade you.
He may want to signal to the league, though, that he's a solid citizen. He has leadership skills and all this.
Solid citizen? He's made a pretty good penny here.
What do you think? What do you think, Nick? What do you think the best fit for Carr is?
Put him with the Colts. You look at the Colts, they're going to have a new head coach. Their offensive line hasn't played up to the level of pay that they have paying their offensive line, but they had one of the highest paid offensive line in the NFL, so you can protect them. Hopefully they move forward in a better direction next year. But you look at their defense is pretty good. So again, you go to a place, have a good defense, give you more opportunities to touch the football, and we'll see who their head coach is. Go with the Colts.
I'm sorry, but that's the wrong answer.
Okay, tell me your answer.
Sacho, I want to hear from Sacho. Let's see if Sacho gets it right.
I think it's the Jets. I really do. And I think a couple reasons. Number one, the Jets have a dominant defense, not just an okay defense, a really good defense, a top 5 defense, number 4 in points, number 4 in yards. Their offense is what was struggling. They were the 29th ranked offense. So all you need, and you heard Woody Johnson say it, all you need is a quarterback. And so, yes, you have Zach Wilson on your roster, but now you can get a veteran who's played the game. Last year was top 5 in passing yards. This year, of course, with the new coach, didn't have as much success, but still threw for over 3,500 yards. Get a quarterback like that into the Jet system, then you cut down on those interceptions, right? 14 this year, 14 last year. Cut down on those picks. You have a new offensive coordinator as well in New York. All of a sudden, you have a top 5 defense and an offense that is trending in the right direction. So I think New York Jets is the right fit.
Roz, would you like to be wrong like Ninko or right like Sacho, or would you like to convince us of another option here?
I don't know that I'd want to bring him into this media market. I think he's been a little, he might be better off somewhere with a little less of a spotlight.
Tough in New York?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Right? Tough. Yeah, it's pretty tough.
That said, my pick is not exactly a small media market. I would put him on the Washington Commanders. I think I like their defense as well, and I think there's some really good weapons at the wide receiver position around him there. I think that's a fit. They're looking for somebody as well. This is amazing, the number of different teams. You could list a fourth. I know you're not going to, but I'm sure there's a fourth team that you could list that would be just as realistic.
Yeah, the reason the Jets are the best pick is because that is a Super Bowl level defense. And defenses have a generation, would be about 5 years where they're really performing together. Maybe even on the outside, 5 years. They just burnt one of those years. They have offensive weapons. They have a good coaching staff. Derek Carr checks every box, not at a super high level, but he has size, he's mobile enough, he has an arm, he has experience, he has leadership qualities. He's every single thing that you would think, if only a guy like that were on the Jets, they could win a Super Bowl maybe. They'd be in contention. That's how much talent they got on the team.
Is it the same thing we were saying before the Raiders started their season, though?
Well, we learned more about them. Yeah, we thought they were talented.
Yeah.
But we didn't. They just didn't have a quarterback.
No, they didn't have a quarterback, so yeah, the Jets will get a good quarterback. They get Carr.
Coming up, NFL insider Dan Graziano. That is Super Bowl champion Rob Ninkovich, and we begin with the game of Wild Card Weekend. Cowboys, Bucks, Monday night in Tampa. Captain America versus America's team. And in order to win the America Bowl, Dak Prescott will have to play better. 15 interceptions in only 12 games this season. He's the first quarterback in NFL history to lead the league in picks while missing at least 5 games. Head coach Mike McCarthy, your thoughts?
I have great confidence in how we evaluate our players, the intensity of the grading that the coaches go through Sunday night and Monday morning. I mean, they put a lot of time into it. So, Dak in particular, he's being coached, through the things that, he needs to continue to build off of, which is the majority of his play. And I know we're talking about the negative now, but you definitely have to correct and learn from us. So I think the application of moving forward is really the answer to your question, as opposed to sitting there and just harping on the negative number.
As far as I'm concerned, the only good thing about the Cowboys is I get to talk to Ed Werder. It's a good excuse. All right, Ed, you're down at the Star in Frisco, Texas, covering the Cowboys. What are you hearing about Dak's play recently?
You heard Mike McCarthy there, and he says that the issue with Dak Prescott throwing uncharacteristic interceptions has not led to extensive special meetings between the coaching staff and the quarterback to scrutinize the problem. They follow their same routine, film study and performance grading. McCarthy says that he believes players learn more from failure than success. Prescott's interception problems have certainly been bewildering. He's taken his share of responsibility for the mistakes, and he's vowed almost weekly to eliminate them, but consistently failed to do so in the games. It's apparent based on that he doesn't seem to have answers at this point either. Prescott's career high 15 interceptions, as you mentioned, tied him with Davis Mills for the NFL lead. Prescott's the first quarterback in NFL history to throw that many interceptions while missing at least 5 games. Only 3 quarterbacks in the Super Bowl era have led or co-led the league in interceptions and played in the Super Bowl. Of course, Matthew Stafford did that last year with the Rams. But, Dak's ball placement, his decision-making have all been questionable at times. He seems not to be seeing the field particularly well and lacks the ability to be accurate with some of his throws. I think, Prescott's thrown interceptions in a career high 7 consecutive games, Max. He's only played 2 games this season where he didn't have at least 1 interception.
Well, if what I understand is right, and Coach thinks just keep it the way it is, I like the cut of this McCarthy's jib. I think he should do exactly that. I, for one, say good plan, Coach. Don't change a thing. That's Ed Werder, ladies and gentlemen. Our good friend Dan Orlovsky ranked the quarterbacks in this year's playoffs, and he has Skylar Thompson and Brock Purdy as the bottom 2. Notably, at number 12 is the Cowboys' very own Dak Prescott, right behind Kirk Cousins and Geno Smith. Oh, it's a shame. I hate to see it. Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Acho. Welcome to the show, Sacho. Nick, I'm going to start with you, though. Your thoughts on our good friend Dan Orlovsky's ranking Dak 12th out of 14 in these playoffs. Too high?
Yeah, that's really high. I mean, come on, just look at the statistics here. Look at who's higher than him. Daniel Jones. I mean, look, there was a point this season where Bart Scott said that Dak Prescott wasn't a top 10 quarterback, and everyone went nuts. We're saying he's not a top 10 quarterback in the playoffs right now. So you look at the field, I get it. He's been struggling with interceptions, but he's also been productive enough for me to be inside that top 10, not be on the outside.
If you say that, who's he in front of?
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones had the highest QBR. I don't know if you heard about it on this just in yesterday. Highest QBR in the last 4 weeks of the season.
How about attempts? That's 4 weeks of the season. Like, I'm
who's
talking about
he throwing
attempts.
to?
Yeah, listen.
If Daniel Jones
you
woke
want
up with
Daniel
that
Jones,
receiving core, he thought he went to heaven.
You're taking Daniel Jones over Dak Prescott?
Yes, right now, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Well, that's because you're a Giants fan.
Well, guilty. Roz, is it fair to have Dak where Dan Orlovsky has him?
No, it's not. Look, I mean, the interceptions are bad, right? This just in. But he has done a lot of good things this year. I mean, like the good with Dak Prescott has been high-level good at times this year, and I don't think you can say that he had a worse year than Trevor Lawrence. I don't think you can say that Daniel Jones was perceptibly better than him this year. I don't think Kirk Cousins had a considerably better year than Dak Prescott did this year. There are plenty of guys right in front of him on that list that he deserves to be ahead of in spite of the interceptions. I understand the point Orlovsky is making, that Dak Prescott is going into the playoffs playing some of the worst football of his career. I agree with that. I don't know why he's throwing interceptions, and if it doesn't stop, they're going to lose. But I think that is too low.
But
yes.
Sacho, you do, I think, have to weigh not only what has occurred this season, which is what Graz is doing, but also how it's trending, because you're trying to peg how they'll play in these playoffs. Like, what are you getting in these playoffs? And while Dan is right, your whole resume speaks to a level that you really may perform. So does your recent play. So do you expect good or bad Dak Monday night?
Well, I expect some more of the same Dak, which has been consistently throwing interceptions. I mean, the last 7 games, he's thrown picks in each one of those games. And so I would say tend toward bad Dak just because, or maybe average Dak, right? Like we've seen a lot of good, like Graziano said, but the interceptions, you cannot overlook them, right? The one last week to Washington, he almost threw one, and the very next play, he did throw one, the pick 6. And so I expect more of the same. He's been consistent in that regard. I expect him to continue to be consistent in throwing interceptions.
Yeah, my beef with the list is I think Purdy should be ahead of Dak. Derek Carr's time, and I mean it, Derek Carr's time as a Raider has come to an end. Look at this. Carr posted a lengthy statement earlier today saying goodbye and thanking Raider fans for their support over his 9 seasons. In Oakland and now in Vegas, Carr was benched in favor of Jarrett Stidham in the last 2 games of this season. And here is part of Carr's statement, quote, "I once said that if I'm not a Raider, I would rather be at home. And I meant that. But I never envisioned it ending this way. That fire burning inside of me to win a championship still rages.